a major exchange, if you will, with the oil exporting from Saudi Arabia, if they go to these other countries, can now deal in their own money, that will devalue the dollar. Right. And the thought is, or the talk is, of why this is concerning is because it doesn't just, it might not just stop with oil, right? Like all these other countries, the reason why they're so impactful is one, they're not like these tiny countries with small populations that don't have much to offer. Most of those have a massive export into the rest of the world's economy, so you have not just oil, but you have natural gas, you have food. And actually what I was reading about today was, I think it was Brazil, has this, it's either the fourth or the fifth largest export of food to the entire world. Right. Oh, so, shit. The why this is interesting, or at least that I think it's interesting, is that the implications are more than just like Saudi Arabia trade of oil, which is a big one, but it can be on multiple facets. Right. So if they start brokering deals between these other countries and start pushing out these NATO countries, i.e. the United States, we're already in, it's not a recession, but we definitely have an inflation issue. I would say that's a fair argument
that's
at the moment.
Yeah, that's heading for like either like a light or deep recession in the future. Right.
Because that's what you hear. It's like we're not in the recession yet, but it's pushing that way, So another factor. Sorry, I was pulling this up on my phone because I actually wrote a couple things down this time.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
look at that our guy go, dude. Look at Jordan.
Shit. Damn.
Well, I don't know what I wrote down was very good, but thank you. Thank you very much. No, but yeah, so and it all kind of coincides with just everything that's going on right now, right? So what I didn't know is that like when the Ukraine-Russia conflict or war, or whatever you want to call it, started, that when the U.S., so the U.S., obviously we have some involvement, and whether you want to say we have, not just like financial involvement, because it's been very public that we've given a lot of money, like in upwards of $100 billion to the Ukraine in this time period.
Yeah, and haven't we given like weapons and plane or jets?
Well, and that's part of that cost. Right. So when they say like, oh, they've given $100 billion to Ukraine, it's not just like, I'm sure there are pallets of cash, but there are also, like tanks and it's like long range artillery and these cost items that are millions and millions of dollars, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like a lump sum, but still the matter of fact is that we've given a ton of money to this country. And again, I feel weird always saying that. It's like, I'm not against helping somebody if they're getting bullied by another country, you know what I mean? Because it's not just the military leaders, it's the people, right? And that's what the heartstrings get tugged on and everything, because you can't have war and fighting without casualties that are probably not going to be military. And whatever side that falls on, I feel bad for those people.
Right.
I'm sorry, go.
Oh yeah, no, actually on that point too, it's just like I agree with you. It's just like that's like, again, like my heart's out to like the people of Ukraine, right? But it's, I guess for me, it's like we have so much shit that we have to deal with and everything in this country, as far as like in us financially as well. That's like we're giving it to another. Obviously, it's like, yeah, like again, for a smaller country getting bullied by a nuclear superpower as well, because Russia's like not a joke in that aspect, right?
Right.
And they've been wanting to like invade them for a while, right? But at the same time, it's just like, I'm like, a lot of this is like we're kind of pushing the envelope of like this proxy war that we have with Russia, that I'm like, we need to slow down in that aspect, because it's like, I'm like, we don't want nuclear conflict. And that's the thing that I worry about, at least when it comes to like anything to deal with like Ukraine.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think that's always one of the, I think like the triggering concepts, that anytime Russia or any kind of physical potential involvement with the United States as a superpower versus superpower, does it end in nuclear catastrophe, right?
Right.
I don't know. Right, what I mean? Yeah. I would think, on a very simple level, I would think that no, it wouldn't, because it would reach a point to where if everything launched, right? Like Terminator is a great example, because so many things are like Terminator references. Absolutely bizarre.
Dude, AI's anyways, that could be a whole nother topic. But it's crazy.
But yes, 1,000,000% yes.
ChatGPT.
Hey, that's where it starts. Skynet, dude. It's all coming together. You know?
Yep.
But no. But in that event, meaning that you had just massive nuclear warfare, there's nothing left, right? So even if there was like a pod of like the most elite of people that were to survive this, then essentially they would have nothing and have control over a very small group of people instead of the world, which is probably how a lot of it's done.
Right.
Or at least that's what I think. So I don't really ever think it's going to go to that point. I think they'll just be, eventually one side's going to cower down and then it'll build up over 20, 30 years. Kind of like what happened with Russia, right? I mean, they've rebuilt since the fall of the Soviet Union and now they're in a power position and they're flexing on these other countries. And sorry, I'm going to get detoured totally from where I started. No, it's okay. But when you said with the proxy war.
Hey, real quick, when you guys say that, just so when we're throwing out terms for people